Hello and welcome back to an episode of TCN. Today we have been gifted, thanks to Southgate Bourbon Bar, a sampling of Indigo Hour's 18-year and tasked with pairing it. Today I'll be pairing with the Hoya de Nicaragua here, the Connecticut. It's one of my favorite Connecticut cigars, and looking up the Indigo Hour online, looks like it's very fresh, fruity, subtle sweetness. I think they'll go great with the rich, robust creaminess of the Hoya de Nicaragua. Starting off on the fresh pour, the nose is actually very approachable. It's fresh, it smells very bright, a little bit of that kind of fruity sweetness, maybe a little vanilla. So we've given this about 10 minutes to aerate, and I gotta say, it gets incredibly robust. It goes from this light, crisp, fresh nose going into it now, after 10 minutes of aeration, it's rich, it's robust, it's still got that sweetness, a lot more of that vanilla and caramel really shine through. Subtle fruit, I can't really pick up what the fruit is, but it smells incredibly lovely. How to describe it? Off the palate, first off, this is beyond dangerously smooth. It is, water has more of a bite than this whiskey. That is how I couldn't, it doesn't even feel like I just drank whiskey. This first sip doesn't even feel like anything went down. It follows that initial nose when you get onto the palate. It is incredibly crisp, bright, a little bit of kind of vanilla fruitiness. It's starting to lose that dark fruit I was leaning towards on the nose. A little bit of that oakiness. The oakiness is super subtle on it. For an 18-year, it's a weird phenomenon, and I'm really glad I picked up a Connecticut shade because this is incredibly bright and crisp and super easy drinking. All right, we finished the pairing, and I have to say that this is a phenomenal pairing and also not so good. So the Hoya de Nicaragua, really phenomenal. The whiskey brings out a lot of really great wood notes on the first half. And on top of that, the creaminess you get from the cigar naturally really plays off well onto the whiskey, almost giving it, I'd say, almost a little bit more palate and profile without really adding much to like its harshness. It's still smooth like water, but it really plays well, adding that more creamy, that rich, robust tobacco really plays off of it well. The problem is that once you get on the second third, that's when it gets really earthy, that's when it starts getting heavier, and that's when it starts overpowering the whiskey. And while the whiskey's still there, it's almost refreshing taking a sip of it. It is almost a little lackluster because the cigar's dominating the palate so heavily as things start to get a little bit more earthy, more robust, almost like some more charred wood. But that does bring out a lot of really nice kind of oakiness and a little spice out of the whiskey. Something a little bit different, develops the palate, but I would definitely recommend something lighter. You need yourself something like maybe a Romeo and Julieta, Monte Cristo White, Espinosa Cream. You definitely want a stick that's going to stay mild and creamy throughout the entire smoke. Would I recommend this pairing? Yes. I still think the pairing was delicious. And it's very interesting to see it develop, how the cigar gets heavier and it starts masking the whiskey and changing the flavor profile of the whiskey too. But I have to recommend trying to find something creamier and lighter than the Hoya, because then consistently throughout the entire smoke, through the entire glass of whiskey, you're going to have a phenomenal experience. This is a really nice whiskey, super high end. It's like a $200 bottle. I cannot be thankful enough to our patron. But once again, I would like to thank Southgate Bourbon Bar for the phenomenal sample. Once again, final notes. This is a great pairing with a great creamy cigar. Get yourself something mild because this whiskey is dangerously smooth. It is probably the smoothest whiskey I've ever had, period. And final note, do not add a cube. Do not cube this whiskey. If you want it cold, chill the bottle. But do not cube this whiskey. It is at, in my opinion, the pinnacle peak of where it needs to be. Any additives like bitters or water, anything would kill it. It would totally dull everything down because it is so crisp, so bright, and as it develops, as it aerates, it gets more robust while still staying easy and crisp. It is a phenomenal whiskey. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you all next time.